So if you go into effects and go to image, paint effect, I'm going to drag this on right here, and I'm going to go into effect mode. You're going to get this effect which has all these different options right here. Most of them are something that I would never suggest ever using ever. So again, let's just start right now with anything, right? If I wanted to do something called painting, I would use this thing called a paintbrush. And I don't know why I would do this. With all these different settings, colorized paint, right? Darken, lighten, I can actually, I don't know, sort of paint a little bit stuff of the image. To be honest with you, I never ever use this. This could come in handy maybe if you wanted to, again, didn't want to take something into After Effects and you wanted to do some things like that. I have been asked before whether or not you can animate these types of moves like this, and I don't know a way to do that. There probably is a way, but I've never done this. And again, most of the stuff I'm going to show you right here is stuff I would do in After Effects. So again, this is the paintbrush tool to do things like this. There's something called outline, so I can do that, and it's just the line or maybe around his head, right? Things like that. I don't know why I would necessarily use any of these things, so I'm going to just grab on them and start deleting them and show you what I would use the paint effect for. So what I use the paint effect for is mainly to blur. And if I wanted to just go right here and for some reason blur this man's head, I have tools here. I have a circle, I have a square, I have an actual polygraph tool. I could actually blur just his hand in theory if I wanted to. And with all these blurs, I can feather it, right? Feather it to the point where I can't see it. Or I could even make the object harder blur, more visible, all these things like that. You can actually just do the vertical. So this, in a way, think about this. I'm going to show you in a second how to do some blur transitions using this. But think about this as the way to blur some footage here. And if I wanted to blur his hand, I can also use this tool right here called the Reshape Tool, which will show the points. In that case, I can start moving different points and whatnot. Sort of like a really cheap, obviously bad way to rotoscope. Another interesting thing in here is the Mosaic. If you're ever asked to, I don't know, for some reason, Mosaic, you know, let's put a square around him. He was a witness protection program or something like that. That is how you do it in this paint effect tool. And another one I want to point out is the gradient, which I was surprised. I haven't used this in a long time. It actually doesn't look that bad. It's maybe putting in like a background, you're putting text over something. So one thing I'll show you whenever you're doing effects here, I want to be able to see the size of the box. I'm hitting Control K. This way I can see that. And in this case, I'm going to drag this gradient out. And now I have a decent look. I don't know. Say you wanted to put text here to the left. That's not bad. And in here, obviously, I could change the color, change it to blue, and things like that. It's actually not a bad tool, this gradient. The other thing I thought was fairly cool in here was this thing called Emboss. And if I put a square around this logo here, that's actually fairly cool. Imagine you did a keyframe, really, you know, keyframe one here, and then I'll keyframe one here, and then this moves that. And now I have this weird little emboss move. Maybe, you know, I don't know. Maybe it could do something. Imagine this was on his head even, or for a whole wipe of a screen or something like that, which I'm going to show you right now. So imagine we're going to do a blur transition. I would start making some add edits. And I want to blur in and I want to blur out. So I'm going to use the paint effect for it. And I'm going to put one here and I'm going to put one here. I'm going to go to paint effect, blur, and drag this over the whole thing. And now let's do a vertical blur here. Up top maybe. It goes from 0. It goes to blur up. I want to start the blur at 0. Have it go up to 100. And have the blur start at 100 here. And go back down to 0. So now,
yes. I mean, Dr. Ish, yes.
Okay, not a great effect. Okay, sound effect will certainly help, and I might even put a dissolve in the middle and see if that helps.
Dr. Ish, yes. I mean, Ish, yes. I mean,
it's okay with the sound effect. It's not terrible. So something to think about. I know at one point somebody asked me about this idea of doing the paint thing where, imagine, I don't know, things are coming out of his head, right? And then they come on and come off. It seems really challenging in Avid. Obviously, you could do it and probably dissolve, maybe if I did it on this top layer. Now you're involving maybe mixing it down, animating it off. things like that that are way too convoluted and much, much easier to do if you did it in After Effects. So again, Paint Effect, a tool Avid made, God, they got to be 25 years ago, that still works in certain cases and certain reasons and stuff like that. But just think about how After Effects is such a better tool for things like this, and really just taking away from your valuable beer drinking time. So that's it for the Paint Effect. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.